Stampers! Today I want to show you how I colour in the Magnolia flower out of the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. I had a customer ask me the other day about this because she's just purchased this stamp set with the dies as well as these blends markers. So I promised her to make a little YouTube video to show her how to get started with using the blends markers with the Magnolia stamp set. So we'll get started. Now, one of the important things to remember when using the blends markers is that you need to use a Memento water-based ink pad with it. These are alcohol markers, so you need a water-based ink to have them work properly. Now, just leaning over to get this stamp set. So I'm going to ink up my big Magnolia. Now, it's a rather large stamp, so I've used the letter H block to mount it onto. Put the ink pad out of the way. So I'm just going to stamp it onto this stitch rectangle shape that I've cut out on the die machine. Give it a good press down because it's quite a large stamp. Okay, so we've got our Magnolia image and that's been stamped perfectly. So now we're going to start to colour it in. So I'll start with the greens in the Mossy Meadow. I've got labels on my markers because I find that easier than trying to find the little printed words on the side. So that could be a little help to you when you're using them. I'm going to use the larger end, the brush tip, because you can see that it's indicated by the larger bar and the smaller bar. So we're going to use the larger one for this area. And I'm just going to start with the dark marker. Now, this is how I find colouring in with the blends most comfortable. I'm not sure how other people do it, but I always like to start with the darker colour because I find if I put the darker colour down first, I can make the lighter colour, come in and blend better. So I'm just going to start with brushing some of the darker Mossy Meadow onto different areas of my leaf. And I do work leaf by leaf. I don't do the whole area all in one go. So hopefully you can see that from that angle. And then I use the stamp also, the shaded parts of the stamp, to help me with where I'm going to put the darker image, the darker colours in as well. So that's just laying down some of the darker colour. And now I'm going to go over the top with the light Mossy Meadow. What I like to do is start off with going over the dark. So I lay down essentially a second layer of colour over the dark, and then I bring that out to blend. So if you see that I'm going over with the light over the dark and then blending that out. And then bringing that over the dark. Now, if you're finding as you're shading that you're getting colour coming outside of the lines where you don't want it to go and it's actually bleeding, we all make mistakes and jump out of the line sometimes, but if you're finding that there's actual bleeding of your ink, what that usually indicates is that you're laying down too much colour in the one area. So you do have to be a little bit careful that you don't over saturate your area with colour. Now, because the markers are alcohol based, the alcohol does evaporate, but if you're putting too much colour in the one area too quickly, it'll struggle. So just continue on adding the light colour over the dark and then blending that out. Light colour over the dark. And blending that out. Okay, so as it rests, you'll see that it does blend even better, but that's the start of our leaves. So I'll just go over the rest of them and speed up the camera, and you can watch as I shade. Okay, so we finished off the flower leaves. Just going to add in a couple of little bits to the stalk here because I just want to do that in the green. So now we're going to move on to the petal pink. Now, as I said before, I've chosen these colours because they're the colours in the Magnolia Designer Series paper that we've got in the catalogue. And the petal pink is really super cute. But what I've introduced with the petal pink is the colour lifter. Now, the colour lifter is fantastic. It's a great pen. If you go outside the lines, you can usually touch up a little bit of your mistakes with the colour lifter. So that tends to take a little bit of the colour away. So you can touch that up. But I've actually used the colour lifter to help me blend the petal pink in with the Magnolia flower. So I'll show you what I did. Like before, I started with the lighter colour, the darker colour, and I've done this petal by petal so I can work the colours in. So I've added a little bit of the dark petal pink, and I'll add a little bit up here in the fold. And then I've brought the light petal pink in and again gone over the existing colour, but I don't want to do the whole petal this time. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading, and then I've taken the colour lifter and I've used that just to go over where the pink meets the white, just to help blend that in so it doesn't look like a stark line between the pink and the white. So I'll continue on and you can watch as I do, but I'm going to continue on adding some of the dark pink and then some of the lighter petal pink over the top. And then I'm going to blend those two colours into the white by using the colour lifter. And I'll work through all of the petals doing the same thing. So we want to have some dark and then bring some of the light petal pink out. And then again, we're going to blend the petal pink into the white with the colour lifter. Okay, so you can see that the colours end up making those petals really pop and really helps give them some interest. And a bit of dimension as well. So light, dark to light, and then blending a little bit with the colour lifter. Okay, and then the light. And then blend that in with the colour lifter. Okay, and I'll continue to go around. And we'll speed this up a little bit so that you can see the finished result. Okay, so there we have it. We've got our Magnolia coloured in, and you can see once you layer all those colours down and they settle, you end up with the two tones in the leaves as well as in the flower. And I've just taken that colour and added a little bit of the yellow for the middle of the Magnolia, and I don't know if you can see up close the different colours and the shading and how you can achieve those two different shades and how the pink ends up blending seamlessly into the white. Okay, so all that takes now is some of the Magnolia DSP, and it's just as beautiful on both sides. And see how I've taken the colors out of the DSP. We can layer that onto some Petal Pink cardstock, because the Petal Pink cardstock will coordinate beautifully with the color that we've already used. Layer that on top, and then once we put our image on top, it all coordinates beautifully, and I'll have to stamp a little greeting up top. So then we end up with our beautiful card. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope that it's helped with using the blends. Just another little tip when you're using them, keep in mind that because they're alcohol markers, they do evaporate. So keep the lids on when you're not using them. Don't let them sit out without the lids on. And also keep in mind that you don't want to damage your tips. So keep your lids on very straight without damaging those nibs on the top. So there's your blends markers. Helen, I hope this was helpful for you in colouring in your beautiful Magnolia stamp when you receive it. And of course, everyone, if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great night. Bye.